Welcome back to 45 Sports. Today it is just me talking about UFC 280. It just finished up. Oliveira versus Makhachev, as you can see on the screen. And as you can probably tell here, I was a Charles fan. I'm a big Charles fan, actually. So that one kind of sucked for the program. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and review the fights, and we'll get right into it. In the main event, Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. I'm not going to lie. Charles just didn't look as hot as you would have liked. He really just never really looked that good. And Islam's striking was amazing. I was shocked by that. His takedowns were great. And, I mean, he dropped him. He dropped Charles. So, I don't know what's next for Charles. I really don't have a clue. I feel like Dariush could be great. If Max Holloway moves up, I feel like that could be great. I don't know what's next for the guy. I mean, UFC 283 is in Brazil, and I feel like he'd love to be on that card, and I feel like he really wants to get back. And that's what he said at the close of his interview after the loss. He said, Dana, I've got to get a fight, man. Like, I need to get a fight so he can get back into this. So Benito Dariush makes sense. Max Holloway, I haven't seen anybody say that, but it just kind of makes sense in my opinion, just because Max is probably going to move up. We don't really know what Max is doing anyways, but yeah, shout out to Islam. I mean, it was a great win for him. I don't know. Him versus Volk, that's going to be at UFC 284 in Australia. So for his first title defense, I mean, this is nowhere near official or anything, but this is basically going to probably happen because I don't think anyone at 145 is going to be challenging Volk. They've got to get the contenders figured out. If Arnold Allen has a big win against Calvin Kattar, I could honestly say you've got three dudes that are worth a title shot. Maybe not Arnold Allen, but Josh Emmett, kind of worth one. Calvin Kattar really didn't lose his last fight, in my opinion. And you have Yair Rodriguez. So you've got a lot of great guys. You've got to get a contender. So have Volk fight for the 155 and then come back to 145. Hopefully he doesn't hold it up like Conor did back in the day, but I know that's a lot for those two fighters. But yeah, that's what's next. Aljamain Sterling, TJ Dillashaw. I picked TJ, as I'm 0 for 2 so far. But if you watch that fight, his shoulder popped within the first, I don't even know. I mean, within the first few minutes of the fight, within actually probably seconds. He, after the fight, said it probably popped 20 times during the camp. And yeah, he told Mark Goddard going into the fight that, hey, my shoulder's going to pop out of place. Let me go. And he let it go. He did. And he came up to him on the stool in between the first and second round and was kind of like, you know, I need to see it. And they popped it back into place. They got back into the second round, and it popped out again. Aljamain Sterling, it's funny because I did pick him at UFC 273, and I was like, I do think he will win, and I was right with that. But then I went against him. I've always been a fan of TJ, but props to Aljo. I think I don't know what's next for him. I think you do Cheeto and Yan. I don't know. We'll get into that next. We'll get into that next. Because what we're talking about next is Peter Yan versus Sean O'Malley. And Sean O'Malley pulled it out. He pulled it out. He pulled out the win. Now, do I agree with this decision? No. No, I don't. But is it robbery? No. It's not robbery. Nowhere near robbery. Robbery is if Peter was like a 30-27 on most people's scorecards and it got, scored for Sean. It was not robbery. That's just a stupid term. It's a bad term. Sean had his moments. He won a round. I know he won a round significantly on everybody's scorecard. There's no doubt about that. It's just that first and third, you don't know. I mean, they were all so close. And that cut that Peter Yan had at the end of the fight was crazy. I think if that fight goes 5 rounds, I definitely think someone's getting finished because Sean was getting very tired. Peter Yan had that massive cut on his eye, and I honestly don't even know if the fight would have kept going had it gone to a 4th round. But yeah, it was a great fight. Now, do I disagree with Sean winning it? No. I wanted him to win. It's just it's tough. It's tough because Peter fought a great fight and so did Sean. But you never know. I mean, some judges, they just don't really look for the ground game. And you got to think, 2 of Peter's takedowns just weren't really, he didn't really do anything with them. Sean was up pretty quick. So, but let's get into what's next for Aljo. Is it Sean O'Malley? I don't know. Because I don't know. I think Sean O'Malley has one more to prove. The problem is the fight with Cheeto makes sense. It's just You do that rematch again. I think that honestly makes more sense. And you do Peter and Merab Dvalishvili. That's what you do. That is how you do it. The Cheeto Sean rematch would be huge. You could do, I want to say pay-per-view, but I almost say you could do like a huge fight night, somewhere just in the United States. I don't really know where, but do Sean O'Malley versus Cheeto Vera. That's the number 1 contender fight. And then do Peter Yan versus Merab. Or you can flip-flop those. Either way. I think either one works. I just like the Sean O'Malley Cheeto right now rematch. I love that fight. Beneil Dariush, Matus Gamrot. This is a fight I got correct. Now, did I pick Sean O'Malley in the last fight? Yes. On TikTok, I did not. But I picked Beneil overall in general. I thought it was pretty easy. I really did. If you watched Matus Gamrot versus Arman Tsarukyan at that fight night, Matus started slow. He lost the first 2 rounds, barely won the third. And he really relied on that win over Arman Tsarukyan in the 4th and 5th round. That's how he won the fight. Because on all 3 judges' scorecards, they gave him 4 and 5. So he was a late round fighter. That's how it went. When he beat Arman, he only won on 2 cards. He didn't win on 3. So it was a close fight, and it was a slow fight for Matus because he came out and he lost the first 2 rounds. So I said, this is a 3-round fight. Beneil Dariush is no joke. He's a very good fighter. The rolls that they were doing in the first round, it really only happened in the first round. It was just like the Matus Gamrot Arman Tsarukyan fight. I mean, it was crazy. It was back and forth. You didn't know who was going to end up on top or bottom, and you didn't know if there was going to be a submission. You had no idea. They got back up to the feet. Nothing really crazy for the second round. Third round happens, and man, did Beneil land he landed a hook that it is one of the loudest hooks I've ever heard in the UFC and in MMA. I mean, that it popped. It was crazy. It was crazy. Belal Muhammad versus Sean Brady. Sean Brady came into this fight undefeated. I really thought that Sean was going to be able to pull it out, I actually hate Philly too, so it's kind of funny that I like Sean Brady. But I also hate Chicago from Belal, so he's a Chicago fan. So, it's funny because Belal Muhammad said, oh, Philly sucks, but, he's a Chicago fan. So, have you ever seen the Bears play football? Okay. But, yeah, I mean, Belal Muhammad, I do have to give you props, man. Your striking was a lot better. Your takedown defense was great. I did think Sean was going to be able to get him down one time, but he was not. So, and honestly, when it came to the prelims, there wasn't anything crazy on there. There was a lot of decisions and one KO. But, yeah, it really wasn't anything crazy. But, yeah, 280. Honestly, going into this year, you saw the UFC 276, and you said, oh, that's going to be the best pay-per-view of the year, right? This card happened. I think this card is the best card of the year. I'm not saying TJ would have won, but I think if he doesn't hurt, we get a better fight. I do think it's kind of a good thing that Aljamain won, though, all because this makes the bantamweight division tough. Because the third-ranked guy is Merab Dvalishvili. The second-ranked guy is TJ Dillashaw. The first-ranked guy is Peter Yan. And guess what? The best friend of Aljamain Sterling is Merab Dvalishvili. And now where's Sugar Sean going to go? So on Tuesday, when these rankings get released, it's going to be crazy. I would like to see this bantamweight division just take off. Corey Sandhagen is another name in the hat. I know he lost to Aljo quick. He did. But guess what? That dude is a great fighter. That division's gross. That was UFC 280. I can't believe we actually made it to 280. We had 2 fights fall out, so you hated to see that. But, yeah. I mean, just crazy. It was definitely better than UFC 276. I'd put it up there. This will probably be one of the better cards of the year. UFC 281 might be able to overtake this one, but that just depends on how that one goes. That relies on the main event. That reminds on all the top 3 fights on that card of the main events. So, yeah, great card this one was. So, thank you guys for watching. This was 405 Sports. I know this was just me, Sam, but that was me reviewing UFC 280. Peace.